I didn't have much hope when I first walked in. And then when I walked out of the first initial visit, there was an optimism about this place and what we could do that I hadn't felt in a long time, just because everything I had tried, there was never even a glimmer of hope. When I first came in here for my initial visit, I had completely been in a place where all I could do was Pilates, and even that I was in pain. I hadn't been able to lift weights the way I always had for months. I still had pain in my day-to-day life, sleeping, walking, sitting. When I first had deadlift assigned to me, I was petrified, because in my mind and what everyone else at these other clinics or wherever I was had told me, stay away from deadlifts, they will make you worse. And then I came in here and went home with my homework with deadlifts. And I'll never forget the first time I had it as an assignment. That was probably the most pain-free I had been at all since we started. The physical pain was debilitating. It took over my day-to-day life. But there was a mental and emotional, consequence from that was probably almost worse. Now, I would say that my mental state has done a complete 180. I am able to walk into the gym, have a workout, feel good, and leave with not only not being in physical pain, but that great workout just fueled my mental health for that day. Treatment-wise, I did injections, other physical therapy to the chiropractor. I did injections at a pain management clinic. First doctor told me I needed spine surgery, and then said, actually, you're a bit too young for that, so start with the nerve block. Nothing ever worked. That morning where I was gonna go get the nerve block done, I just, call it what you want, I call it God. I had a moment of, I'm not going to this appointment. And I sat with Maddie and she said, it's time you go see Hannah. And we just looked at each other and I said, it's time I go see Hannah. My other physical therapy that I did in the past, I felt like I was there to check off boxes. I was physically doing movements with another person's guidance. But I think that there's so much more than just do this, do that. The knowledge and what I have learned from what it is I'm doing in my movements here, I didn't receive that in previous physical therapy visits. Yeah, there was no progression. I did the same things every visit. I walked in for the initial visit. I didn't have much hope. I left the initial visit without even starting treatment and leaving with optimism that I didn't have to live like this. That is all because of the interaction that we had, who you were, but your knowledge and just, I remember showing you my MRI and, telling you what those doctors said and just getting like a whole different side of, knowledge around what my diagnosis was that I didn't even have any clue about. I was going to kill my nerve in my lower back. If you feel hopeless and that you've truly tried everything and there's nothing left for you to do besides live in lower back pain for the rest of your life, that's not true.